Damn, son, where'd you find this?
People don't be offended by the truth. They be offended because you called out the truth. Simple as that. They don't want to hear any other narrative that makes them look bad.
And one thing I can't stand at this big grown age is somebody who act like cause and effect does not exist. Like, yes, your actions caused this outcome. Yes, what you did lit the match. Like, why are you surprised and playing victim?
Guys, Chico, they never lied.
That's how you know somebody doesn't respect you. They listen to reply, not to be understood. They cut you off. They minimize what actually matters to you. They laugh at your boundaries, and then they call you sensitive when you try to hold the line. They show up late, they cancel last minute, forget the things you've told them, because in their world, your time, your energy, even your voice aren't a priority. They're just an option. You see, there are two kinds of people. Those who adjust when they realize they've actually hurt you, and those who expect you to adjust so they don't have to change. You don't need to be disrespected loudly to be disrespected deeply. Sometimes you'll see it. It's just in their tone, in their patterns, in the silence after you're known. Respect isn't what they say when they're watching. It's how they act when they think you'll tolerate it.
All right, I had to get my color scheme right. Blue is my thing, but for this right here, I like to keep it in the black. What's good, man? Some of y'all was here earlier for the open mic, and shout outs to everybody who got to hang out with us earlier. The poets, all that good stuff. Much love to you. Happy Friday. You see the title? Yeah, I told you we had to come back to this. I do have a clip. Of course, there's many of them. This is just one that I think will kind of get you up to speed. You've probably seen 1,000 different angles. I got Sydney in the studio. I'm going to bring her up, and we're going to talk about it, man. Let's go ahead and do this really quick. Let me switch this screen up. Hold on a minute. Let me see. Hey. Can you see me? It'll be good.
I can see you.
Okay. I'm glad you could spin back on this one. I figured, hearing what I was getting ready to get into, you had something that you wanted to say about this. We've talked about ICE before with a few different incidents with them. This time we have a fatal story. A woman loses her life, and people are on different sides of the conversation with this. So what I want to do, a quick recap for anybody who is unfamiliar with the story, and we'll just go from there. Because I know you've already heard of it, probably did your own digging on this. So let me bring this up real quick. Then I'm gonna let you get your balls off. We're gonna chop it up.
Footage has just emerged, which appears to have been filmed by the immigration agent who shot a mother of three in Minneapolis. When it was released by Alpha News, a right-wing Minnesota news outlet. In it, Renee Good can be seen sitting in her car, blocking the road and smiling at the officer approaching her. Let's listen to what happened next.
That's fine, dude. I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. That's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I said go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car.
Oh!
State officials in Minnesota are deeply unhappy that the FBI has taken over the investigation into the killing, shutting them out. Our US editor, Anushka Astana, is at the scene of the shooting in Minneapolis. Anushka.
Well, that video has led to more polarized debate about exactly what happened here. The Vice President, J.D. Vance, is not waiting for an investigation. He has posted it and argued that it showed the officer's life was endangered. Others say Renee Good looked totally unthreatening. Now, we have learned more about the agent at the heart of this. He was injured by a vehicle last year, which had a fleeing suspect in it, and he was very experienced, 20 years in Border Patrol and ICE. Meanwhile, we've been sent emails from immigration lawyers in the area this morning who say ICE agents are turning up at their workplaces. One woman who was 37 weeks pregnant has told colleagues that she was threatened with a chemical spray this morning. Others describe ICE agents in the corridors of immigration courts. And look, the city is bracing itself because they know that more officers are headed here now.
Mobile phone footage has just emerged, which appears to have been filmed by the immigration agent who shot a mother of three in Minneapolis on Wednesday.
Just so you know.
We already got through that. Let me go ahead and stop that right there. So initial thoughts. Anything pertaining to this video or anything that you have seen prior to this?
Well, first, let me see if I can find it. I'm very much on the side that she was not an aggressor, that obviously this was 1,000% in the wrong. They should not be doing this. They don't even have jurisdiction over this. If you look in the laws for ICE, they are not like police. They do not have the right to enter people's property. They do not have the right to make people come out of their cars or to enter people's cars. They also, in their guidelines, tell them not to use their bodies to block vehicles. That's also, I believe, in police training as well. So everything that they were doing was already wrong, already beyond what their jurisdiction was. And the other half of it, too, that really stands out to me is how the White House responded to this. Our president posted on Truth Social or Twitter, whatever he uses, saying that this individual who, in if you watch the other video, not advantages, perspectives, you can see he's not touched by the car. The only contact between this man and the car is him grabbing the handle of the car as she's trying to leave in her vehicle. But the leadership in the White House has been trying to say that A, she was a paid agitator, B, she was a terrorist that had weaponized her car, that she tried to ram him, that she injured him. And in a recent post, I believe last night or 2 nights ago, he straight up said that the police officer, or that the ICE agent was in the hospital recovering from being run over by the car, which is completely false. You see it in the video. He literally walks away, goes to his own car. It's the fact that this happened is already disgusting, and an example of why we do not need these armed thugs in our cities. But the fact that it's also now a very, very blatant example of our government literally manufacturing information despite the evidence being right there in front of you. You can see it with your own eyes, but they're trying to say that this evidence that you can see with your own eyes is false. And it's, to me, very 1984, very dystopian to hear our government really try to twist an event that was filmed with very blatantly, obviously fake information. So I think there's definitely two sides to this. There's the incident itself that happened to her, and the whole situation that led to her death. But then there's also the aspect of how it's being framed by the media and by our own government system after this has happened. So there's definitely a lot to talk about.
So, let me say this, right? I was on Twitter earlier and I watched seven total different clips with different angles, and it's clear as day there's two different perspectives. There's one where they are arguing that they're doctoring this video footage to make it look like the guy was standing in front of the hood of the car. But you see 4 other videos, he's clearly over on the side, and he drops his phone, he shoots in the vehicle. This should have never happened. We shouldn't even be trying to say, all right, well, there was a threat or there was a possibility of this man being harmed. From what I saw, he was not in harm's way. If you really looked at the video, she turns the steering wheel going away from his person. He tries to stop her and he aims into the car. He unholsters, aims into the car, and he fires at her. But then here's the thing that really ticked me off about it. There's a gentleman who is speaking on it, and he's saying, well, she incited this. She should have never been there in the first place. She was impeding on official business, government business, and this would have never happened if she would have stayed in her lane, did what she was asked to do. You have comments saying, well, she should have just got out the car. She should have listened to what they said, et cetera, et cetera. And now I want to know, based off of what you just told me, they don't really have the right to do some of the things that they did. Was she wrong in saying, I'm not getting out this car? I don't owe you anything. Matter of fact, I'm about to pull off, and what you gonna do about it? Now, me personally, I'm gonna say this: she should still be alive. Her response to the threat or the potential threat could have been handled differently. I would have rather her just got out the car as they asked and then handled it that way, instead of, well, shit, you're in a fucking 2, 3, 4, 5 ton machine that can actually kill somebody. That's a weapon alone. Do you not think that that's going to give somebody the impression that you're going to try to hurt me? I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate. If you're somebody that's just doing their job, or you're a random person out there, you see somebody who has been argumentative with these people, and then they decide that, oh shit, I'm about to just skirt off. Your girlfriend is not even in the car with you. She encourages you to drive off. Why would you do that? I'm not saying what they did was right, but the odds of this happening lessen if you just cooperate. Do you see where I'm coming from with that? I'm not saying what happened. I'm not saying she deserved that. I'm just saying, like, this didn't have to happen at all.
Admittedly, watching the video, I've probably said it before on the show, but I have my feelings about ICE. But watching the video, one of the ones that I watched earlier featured her and her partner in the beginning of the incident, before they even started driving, and all of the infamous clips that we've seen. And admittedly, they were instigating, especially her wife. She was out of the car and yelling at the ICE agents. I believe one of the two of them were filming the ICE agents, and one of the ICE agents was filming back, and they were kind of having a back and forth between that one and the one that was filming. And so, yes, there definitely is that aspect where they were involving themselves in a situation that was not theirs to involve themselves in. There was already an ongoing ICE operation. However, I definitely still understand why they did what they did, because they stepped in to support their neighbors. They knew some of the people that were involved in this situation. And so they stepped in to help the people that they knew. This was not very far from their child's elementary school. If I remember correctly, it was also fairly close to their home. So they knew people that were involved in this situation. But their actions, I definitely could see that from a law enforcement perspective. Not that I'm really calling ICE law enforcement, because I don't really consider them that, but just for argument's sake, just from their standpoint, I could see them seeing that as aggressive behavior, especially with how hostile relationships are right now between ICE and normal citizens. I can understand why their behavior might have been seen as threatening, but it still does not rationalize the use of force that they used. She was attempting to leave. I guess I could see how they could see that as weaponizing a vehicle, which is what the Kristi Noem keeps categorizing it as. But it's very, very clear in the video. There's a video I watched by CBS Evening News, which featured a retired ICE agent in that interview, and they had him review the clips. And even a former ICE agent pointed out that you can very clearly see her turning the tires away from those law officers. And part of the reason she was sitting there in the path is she was letting other cars go and pass as she was waiting there. So her sitting there wasn't necessarily her continuing to inject herself into the situation. She was just trying to find a safe way to leave. They're the ones that ended up starting to grab at her car door, step in front of her car, and she did the maneuver to get out of their way. And you can, as I said in the video, you can clearly see the tires are turned away from his feet. She did not run him over at all. She did not hit him. But as she was leaving, that is when they decided to shoot at her. It was not when she was out of the car. It was not as if she was turning the car to hit them. It was when she was very clearly trying to get away. And even police officers are taught that if a criminal is getting away, they highly discourage using force. There's a lot of other ways that you can re-detain people that get away. You can call it into other police officers. You don't have to shoot somebody. And for them to, she did not have a weapon. She did not aggress the people. Like, she didn't come at them and attack them. People. Yes, people. She did not attack anybody, but they still chose to use deadly force on her. And that is not okay. Because, yes, police officers have these situations as well. But a large quantity of the time, not across the board, obviously, there are still situations of police using unnecessary force, which is its own problem. But a lot of the time, they pull out their weapon because they think that the other person has a weapon. And as I think you pointed it out, I've also heard people in a video point it out, shooting at somebody driving a moving on vehicle is foolhardy, because that car is going to keep going after the person is dead or is injured. And some bodily reflexes will make you like tense up, and there's still the possibility that you could hit the gas and literally take off, unable to control your car. And so they were technically putting people in danger by shooting at a driver of a moving car. No, you can't have it. So even if they were instigating the situation and were involved in a situation they should not have been involved in, it still does not reserve the right of ICE agents to take her life over that. At the very, very least, they could have called the police themselves or requested backup or something. And as I said, it is not within their jurisdiction to like make people get out of their cars. They are immigration enforcement agents. That is their job. They are not law enforcement agents. And so they had no right to tell her to leave her car. If they genuinely wanted her to be found for certain crimes or whatever, they would have to go through the local police. They are not enforcing crimes. They are enforcing immigration. And so they way crossed over the line for that.
But they've been crossing the line for the last year and some change. Really, do you know how many stories I done covered up here? They done snatched women, mothers outside of the car, right in front of their kids, in front of stores, malls. Literally, just grabbed them out the car, threw them, slammed them up against the vehicle, cuffed them, and everything. There was one video where they snatched the guy up from work. My man was at work, construction, pulled up on him, took him off the job and everything. He had to go through a loophole, a crap load of different measures just to prove, even though he showed them his ID and everything, he still had to go through a whole bunch of stuff just to say, look, man, I'm legit. So they've been doing what they want for a while now. And for anybody to really be trying to defend this, you're a part of the problem too. This ain't the first time people have complained about ICE. How many times have we been down this road? You've even expressed your concern about this a few times. Let's not even mention what happened in Chicago. They went in those apartments and they snatched up whoever. They didn't care who it was. How? Like, how do you have the authority to just do whatever you want? And I'm finding issues with where's the backlash or the punishment for this.
Also, I have to point out, you know why they did that, right? Why they took that whole apartment building in the middle of the night?
Nah, what?
The apartment building owner wanted to evict a lot of the people because he wanted to increase the rent. But you can't unless like you can give them notices and stuff like that. But he basically wanted to rent out at a higher price. And so he made a deal with ICE where they could come in and use all of these people for a promotional video. And so it was an arrangement between the landlord and ICE agents where the landlord was able to get all of these people out so he could rent at a higher cost without having to go through the proper processes to do it legally and normally. While ICE was able to film a promotional video about how cool and macho they were. That video is still available online. They put it to music and everything. And it shows them pulling these people out, elderly, young kids without clothes in the middle of the night. It was like 2 a.m. And yeah, so it wasn't even a legitimate like operation. They were literally doing it just to brag, publicity, that kind of stuff. Like the stuff that they're doing is like one of the things that I don't think a lot of people understand yet. I mean, if you follow the news, you probably do, but a lot of these people aren't even vetted. Like you don't even have to take like intelligence exams and stuff. Like police officers have to go through a process to get these jobs. They don't have to go through that. There's very, very little you have to do to become an ICE agent. So their standards are very, very low. And they have a lot of people that have criminal records, that have no experience whatsoever in any form of law enforcement. And a lot of people are pretending to be ICE agents and are just wearing the uniform. I mean, we can see it in the videos. Like, the uniform is very like, some people are wearing something, some people are wearing other things. It's very, very unprofessionally inconsistent across the board, the standards and everything. So I guess it would make sense that these people have no law standard either, and they're willing to just pander to the opportunities that they're given to harass people for clout, basically.
At Skylar, it was absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. And to reality, yeah. There's mad angles. Mad angles. I'm sure everybody here has seen all of them. There's one in specific that I mentioned earlier. It was blurry, but the way that they had it set up, they tried to make it look like the guy was in front of the car, but then you look at the third or the fourth video, he's on the side. There's so many narratives that they're trying to spin. What this all boils down to, a woman is dead and she didn't have to be. And we have a group of men that are basically playing Batman. They just don't have all of the gadgets. They're vigilantes in uniforms cosplaying as superheroes when they're really villains, and we're just supposed to shut up about it. Even if you say she was blocking traffic, does that say, all right, I'm gonna unhost her and then fire off a few rounds into this person's face? And then on top of that, to add insult to injury, not only did you basically make it to where she's not even going to have an open casket, probably. You had somebody on site who said, let me examine this person. I have the credentials to do this. And you told them no. You said, no, stay away. We have our own medical team. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of ICE. Do they walk around with Doogie Howser strapped to their belt buckle? I didn't know that they had a whole medical crew with them when they go out here and do the stuff that they doing.
It wasn't their medical crew. They were saying that they'd already called the paramedics, and the paramedics were on their way.
So you have somebody that's already here that can get quicker results. Maybe there's a small chance that you could save this person's life, but you would rather wait 10-15 minutes for somebody to get through all that fucking traffic and all these do not enter signs and all that. That's how y'all really feel about the people. I don't care if you didn't like the fact that she was mouthy to you. She was making your job a little more inconvenient. There was somebody right there that could have very well helped. What are we doing here? What are we even talking about? Who is ICE? Like, what are we doing with ICE?
We could also look at it too from a civilian perspective because, again, they don't have law enforcement privileges. They're technically supposed to be more like peace officers, where they don't have to use weapons unless their lives are directly in danger. Like, imagine if you had somebody on your property and they were just yelling at you. Yeah, they're on your property, but does that mean you're going to go and shoot them in the head just because they're yelling at you? Or if somebody's in the street, just like they're in the way in the street, we're going to go and shoot them? And that's kind of how I see it, where, yeah, they were confrontational. You can see it in the video. Her wife was out of the car, was yelling at the ICE agents. She was also like smiling smugly at them and yelling at the ICE agents. So you could easily argue, like, yeah, she was in the way. In the beginning, she was blocking traffic along with other vehicles. But you do see that once they start to, they do ask her to leave, and she does start to leave. But she's also allowing other traffic to pass by. You can see in one of the videos that she waves by like 3 or 4 cars to go in front of her before she's going to drive off. And so if the ICE agents had been patient, they probably would have left with no incident. But I don't know if it was their interpretation or if they were just trigger happy, but they didn't even give them the opportunity to fully peacefully leave. They just decided that they were going to basically arrest the car once they had decided to comply and leave the situation.
Yeah, these were nothing more than bullies. That's all I see with them. They walking around wielding this imaginary power that's been given to them. And when you really think about it, clearly somebody gave them authority to do this as freely as they're doing it. They haven't stopped. You know, how many stories have we had about this? I'm not a Democrat or Republican person. I'm just a human person. I just look at people like they're all capable of doing wicked. They're all capable of being greedy. For the right price, anybody will do just about anything, depending on who you are. Doesn't matter what side of the political field you're in. But for real, them ladies shouldn't have been so mouthy either. Like all that's all right. I don't like ICE. I can't stand none of them. I get it. Most of us are pissed off with them. They really don't serve no purpose. Like, I thought the whole point of view was to get the illegals, deal with the illegals. Y'all out here acting like you Matlock, Scruff McGruff in the mystery machine. Y'all trying to solve crimes and do all the my tax dollars. I didn't pay for this. I didn't volunteer for this. I didn't vote for this. And blocking traffic is a misdemeanor. But like Sydney said, they really ain't had no business getting involved in all of that anyway. So all they really doing is riding around looking for people to mess with. That's it. That last part, Hold on, matter of fact, let me read this real quick.
I also want to point out it only took 2 minutes between them being outside the car and them being back in the car for her to get shot. The span of time between that whole incident starting and the shooting actually happening was a very short amount of time. And especially when you're engaged in that type of chaotic scene, that time goes by really fast. So they probably didn't even have a moment to really, like, if you watch the video, it's very chaotic. They probably did not have enough time to like properly think through what was happening. I would not be surprised if they were trying to figure out in their heads, like, they're yelling at us, they're telling us to leave, but some of them are also telling us to like get out of the car. I saw another, they were, I think, law enforcement, talking about how it can take people who are in these types of situations a little bit to even like wrap their head around what's happening. So I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't even fully comprehend what was happening. And I know that the wife herself was out of the vehicle because some of the neighbors were being harassed that they knew, and so she was out to defend them and try and help. And of course, as usual with most people that are confronting ICE agents, she was insulting them. But still, my opinion still stands that as Agent Snake pointed out, those are misdemeanors. These are not things that would warrant being shot in the head. There are a lot of other ways that you can apprehend somebody without taking a kill shot. That's really my line, is that they chose a basically near fatal decision. If you get shot in the head, your chances of survival are very, very slim. There are people that survive getting hit in the head with a bullet, but it's not very often. So the fact that they chose to use excessive force for a relatively minor incident is where I have the problem. I know they were instigating, and I know they made their wrong choices, but that does not warrant those types of actions being taken. Like, they could easily carry tasers, they could easily have used other non-lethal forces, like police officers will use spike strips to stop cars. They could have called it into law enforcement. They already had pictures of their license plate and reported what they saw and what they had been doing, and let the police decide what to do with that situation. They did not have to pull out their gun and shoot 3 times into the window of the driver's side in the car.
The whole thing was handled poorly on both sides. Unfortunately, the side that took the biggest losses, the side that's not going to wake up tomorrow. The officer that killed the woman, he got 7 kids. He has 7 children with a Filipino woman, and nobody has confirmed that I know of if she's legally supposed to be here. Isn't that interesting? I could never understand a person who has a whole family. You would take somebody from theirs. So we got 2 sides. They handled it piss poorly. They abused their power. the agitators, they knew that they were agitating. And I think at this point, if we don't take anything out of this, is they're not going anywhere. And the way that this was handled is not going to get the results that we want. If you're trying to get the government's attention, if you're really trying to tell them we're not happy with this, this is not satisfactory, this isn't the way to do it. Because guess what? I get a feeling that because of this situation, it's a chance that this is going to get worse. Because everybody's not going to react the same way. And a lot of people are not taking this lightly. A lot of people have had it up to here with ICE. And you guys that's doing what you doing out here, you snatching families away, you splitting homes up, sending folks to different countries. They can't figure out where the kids at. And this, guess what? Everybody's not going to just brush that off and write letters. It wasn't too long ago, I did a reaction video. It was, I believe, 12 adults. It was some men, it was some women. They had an entire plan to execute ICE agents. They had a whole setup. It backfired on them. All of them got arrested. There's people out here that's tired of y'all shit because y'all ain't worth a damn. Y'all on some real dirtball stuff. And there's a lot of men and women out here that's ready to crash out. I'm not advocating for it. I'm not saying go out here and start being the vigilante and nothing like that. But y'all need to understand y'all playing with people's life. And you've been doing it for a while now. And hell, the next person you run into might not have ever been a victim or had that experience. But just because of them knowing who you are and seeing what you've done, they could feel like, hey, this is my opportunity to go viral. This is my opportunity to show solidarity to the good people of the United States. We will not stand for your foolery. And then they just wild out and start spraying stuff. All because of what? But like I said, I don't advocate for that. There's other ways to handle these situations. We just aren't proactive enough to make those adjustments.
I looked it up, and DHS guidelines on fleeing subjects specifically states deadly force shall not be used solely to prevent the escape of a fleeing suspect.
So how many laws have they violated so far? I'd say there's a large number of them, a very large number of them, are vast. I don't want nobody to lose their life over their anger, over their resentment towards these people. Hold them accountable. How do we hold them accountable without you losing your life, them losing theirs, and the people who need to hear our voice actually hears it and does something about it? What has to be done next? Because I'm telling you, some folks don't give a damn. They literally had somebody in the medical field ready and willing to step in and try to save that woman, and they didn't even want to give them the consent to do it. So what you would have done? Arrested them? Would you have shot them too because they tried to help? To be fair, that's what I'm saying. Digital. Everybody not about to sit here and respond the same way at all. They are really playing with fire. Really playing with fire. And they don't understand it. But it's probably because they feel like they're protected. Everybody not about to sit there and just let you go in their house, snatch their kids up, assault their husbands, assault their wives. They're not about to let you just do all that. And nah, everybody's not. No. So I mean, so what do we do? What do we do now? I mean, you can't just snap your finger and they're gone. You want justice. You want your streets to be safe. You want to protect your loved ones. How do you do it while also making sure that the folks that are getting paid based off of our salaries, how do we make sure that they are doing what the fuck they supposed to be doing?
I think there's two sides to this. One from an ICE side, which arguably will be harder to achieve because they're essentially acting on behalf of a government that arguably isn't giving very much instruction and a lot of issues there. So there needs to be reform and an establishment of what are they actually allowed to do? What are the actual standards these people need to adhere to continue acting in their positions? There needs to be much more oversight and training and all manner of like operational awareness, basically. Like the ICE agents need to understand what their limitations are. The communities need to understand what the limitations of their rights or of their powers are. And that's the second facet is us. We need to understand how to navigate this ICE situation in a way that keeps us safe, because very clearly in a lot of situations we are being put at risk by people that are claiming to be law enforcement agents. People are getting into situations where they're being hit in the eye with pepper balls. They're being sprayed in the face with pepper spray. They're being shot in the head because they are trying to leave even though they're being told to get out of their car. People need to, like with police officers, we are coached even as a kid what to do when you get pulled over by a police officer. You are told if you're in your car, you pull out your insurance, you pull out your license, you pull out your information. You put your hands on the steering wheel so they can see that you don't have a weapon. You roll down your window so they can speak to you. And like if you get not pulled over, but like if you get stopped when you're in person, like you stand there calmly, you take your hands out of your pockets. Like there's all sorts of things that we're taught how to interact with police in a safe manner. And we need to have that available as well. We need to understand and have set limitations to what they can and can't do so we can understand how we can act appropriately when we are encountered by ICE, because we are in a stage of our government situation where a lot more people that who have no experience whatsoever with ICE agents and what they are and what they do are going to have more and more interface with regular citizens. Like this is no longer just like, oh, you're driving across the border into Mexico, or like you are driving from state to state and they have border patrol there and ICE agents and stuff like that, or like they just happen to show up at work because you have people there that might be illegal immigrants. Like we're not at that stage anymore. We are now at the stage where they're in communities, they're at schools, they're at stores, they're in neighborhoods patrolling, looking for people. There is a heightened presence of ICE. And so to keep ourselves safe, we have to understand what the limitations are. What are our rights? What are their rights? Because ICE is not the police. Every single law enforcement agency has different sets of rules and regulations, what they can and can't do, and limitations to their power. And right now, there isn't really clarity in what their limitations are. And it seems like day to day given more and more power. I mean, they're the highest paid group in the country right now. ICE gets paid more than our military right now. Overall, like ICE gets more money altogether than the military. They are talking about increasing military spending, but currently ICE is the highest paid organization in this country as a whole. But there's very little, like state by state, city by city, even agent to agent. There isn't very much homogenization of what the rules are, what they can and can't do, which puts us at risk because we don't know how to interact with them. People aren't going to know whether they can or can't stop if they're told to stop. Like some of these people are just going to flee because they don't want to deal with ICE. They're not illegal. They just don't want to deal with the situation. And we know with police standards, if you flee, they're automatically going to think that you're guilty. But a lot of people don't know what to do with ICE because they're like, well, I'm not illegal, so why do I have to care? So I think we need a lot more education to keep people safe of how to handle encounters with ICE and how to properly navigate situations where you might be either being aggressed by them or detained by them or any manner of escalation. So I truthfully could not say how this needs to be done because we're very clearly seeing that there's very little oversight of meaningful nature. And arguably, they're not under direct control of the government. There's a lot of speculation that they're just kind of operating on their own desires and individual, like city type like how the cities are, like the ICE agents that you're going to get in Texas are going to be different than the ICE agents you get in California, is going to be different than the ones you get in Minneapolis or Minnesota. But there needs to be something, whether public education, states getting together to kind of establish standards, police working together with ICE to establish standards, police working with citizens to establish what to do in these situations. Like law type education needs to occur. People that are former ICE, former lawyers, like people that are involved in this type of arena need to be talking about this and need to get out there with the proper information. That way people can more safely interact with ICE, because very clearly the situation between the harassment from ICE agents and the escalation from civilians is going to result in more deaths if we don't do something about it. There's no doubt in my mind that we're going to start seeing an increase in these types of incidences. We've already been seeing mild ones, as I said, pepper spray, being beat up, being pushed over, knocked down, stuff like that. But it's very clear this is starting to escalate. Literally, during a protest over this shooting, 2 people in Portland got shot by ICE during the protest. So this is not going to be an isolated incident. And I think we really need to use this as an example of what could happen if we don't figure out some sort of way to educate the public and frankly rein in ICE, because ICE right now is operating in areas that they do not have jurisdiction. They're operating in ways that they do not have the right to do. So yeah, and in the meantime, be prepared to have documentation on you, especially if you're in an at-risk group, because I cannot stand them. Obviously, I do not support them. They should not be patrolling our streets, but we are in a situation where they are. And so you have to be willing to take the precautions to protect yourself. And I mean, sadly, that doesn't always work either. You can have the proper paperwork and they will still arrest you. They'll still send you away. They still don't care. But whatever you can do to reduce your likelihood of a negative encounter with ICE is good. But that being said, we need to push back as civilians, because this treatment is not okay, and it is only going to continue to escalate. Our government is perfectly content using them as a control group of henchmen, basically. And as you just said, we should not be okay with aggressive law enforcement wandering through our cities, snatching people up for little to no reason at all. And I think that there needs to be a widespread, nationwide pushback against the use of ICE. And just like the, I think it was the governor or the mayor, he said, you need to ban them from your state. They need to be gone completely. They should not have the right to be out on those streets to harass regular citizens. They need to go back to where they belong with actual like border security and stuff like that. Like, they should not be in normal neighborhoods, in people's Home Depots, in people's schools. Like, that is not okay. So yeah, there's a lot that needs to be done. Sadly, I don't trust that it's going to be done by the powers that be. So as American citizens, we need to be the ones that push for this. We have to be the ones fighting for our own freedoms, because very clearly there's a lot of people in power that do not care. They're very happy to have a new version of the Gestapo in the United States. So it's very much, unfortunately, on us to pressure our more local politicians that are doing what they're supposed to do. And I mean, even push the ones that aren't doing what they're supposed to do in the hopes that maybe they'll actually do what they're supposed to do when they realize they're going to lose their jobs. But we need to push them to banish ICE from our cities. That is not their place. That's what the police is for.
To protect the sheep, you got to catch the wolf. And it takes a wolf to catch a wolf. You understand?
We just had what? How many people? It was like 7 million? 7 million people marched.
It was estimated to be actually around 8 million, possibly as high as 9, but the general estimate is about 8 million, which is the second biggest protest in U.S. history.
So you tell me we can get 7 to 8 million men and women on one accord, but we can't do it now. You can't convince me. Anything is possible. We did it then. We can do it now. Question is, do we want it? Are we tired? Are we fed up enough? Is this important? Doesn't really matter what side of the political field you stand on. Right is right, wrong is wrong. Are we tired? Are we ready to see some results? Some actual change? I don't know about anybody else. I'm tired of hearing the stories. I would like to see some of these people held accountable. We're not dumb. There's a lot of intellectuals in this chat. There's a lot of smart people watching right now or will watch later on, having these conversations. Some more knowledgeable than me, doing way more, extremely proactive. And I salute y'all wherever you are. You doing your thing, keep on. We need you. We need you. We need your voice. We need to make some stuff happen here. That's all to it. I want the neighborhoods to be safer. I want the kids to be safer. I want these families to be safer. I want people to be able to go to work and come home without worrying about getting snatched up in the van and all this. We got to do something. Now that was it staged? There's things that happen that I be looking at like, man, I don't know this. I thought the whole Charlie Kirk situation was planned. I think there was an agenda behind that. I think there's an agenda behind a lot of stuff that gets pushed on social media, especially when it comes to all of this political shit. But I don't have facts. I can't prove either or. At plain and simple, you can't please everybody. I look at it like this. One person with a voice, cool. You get a whole lot of people saying when was it Jimmy Fallon? When Jimmy Fallon got canceled, Trump was
Jimmy
like
Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel. When Jimmy Kimmel got canceled, the internet was pissed. It didn't take long for him to get his job back. The internet was not playing. The comment section, wherever you came from, if you like him, they weren't playing around with that. Same rule apply here. If we don't agree on nothing else, I think we all can agree that we pay way too much. We bleed and sweat and spend too much of our life working to be treated the way that we get treated. Anything you want to say before we close out? I do want to say shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Everybody feedback. Everybody feedback. I hope somebody sees these comments and they read them and they understand that we have a voice. We're not going to be shut up. You're not going to keep us quiet because you don't like this side of the internet. We don't like what's going on at all. And I appreciate the feedback from everybody. Do me a solid. Repost this live stream. If nothing else, repost this live stream. Let the people know. There's some folks that's out here who understand the assignment. We see the agenda. We're not okay with what's going on. And we want them to pay attention to what we got to say. I yield the mic.
I was able to write a poem. I wrote it before the podcast. And I wanted to for her anyways, because whenever stories sit with me, I always like to write something for them. That's why I wrote for Hurricane Helene. And I remember when I was like 12, I wrote about this character in Gilmore Girls that drowned, because that was how I guess I coped with it. But this one has been sitting with me, especially with how divisive it's been. I still see it as she was a living person, and she's now no longer around. Her son no longer has his mother, and her wife no longer has her in her life. Her parents are alive and do not have their daughter. So regardless of that situation, a human life is gone. And so I wanted to at least write for her and everything that happened. So it doesn't have a name yet, but it'll probably just take her name. Renee Nicole Good, mother and wife, stolen from life. Innocence ripped away in the chilled morning light. Renee Nicole Good, after leaving her child at the schoolyard that day, couldn't predict an ending so vile. Renee Nicole Good stopped to support her neighbors in need, aggressed my men, varlets for sport. Renee Nicole Good, fake Nazi lawmen, mask left in place, government paycheck henchmen surround and shout in her face. Renee Nicole Good attempts to depart, decides to leave calmly, takes her car out of park. Renee Nicole Good, they demand she comply, they reach for the car door, no jurisdiction, they had no right. Renee Nicole Good, 399, 299 milliseconds, delivered a set of fatal mistakes straight into her skull. Renee Nicole Good, don't forget her name. Videos don't lie. Renee Nicole Good did not deserve to die.